Welcome to Alice. Today is quite a special day in that not only is it Youth Day, the 16th of June, 2020, but we're actually having and launching the Winston Sessions in paying tribute to the late Dr. Winston Ngozi and Winston Ngozi. We are because of the love of many. Many that had courage in their convictions, many that celebrated authenticity in reinstilling a sense of identity, and many that selflessly served and invested in people with ubuntu. The importance of having a sense of purpose we are reminded of today. eDikeni, it is home. This will be the home of the Winston Sessions. It's a stage and a session that will host many musicians, artists across the board in celebrating that sense of identity and celebrating where we come from, and most importantly, where we're going. Many are the custodians of the very legacy that we're looking to improve on in saying, how do we leave it in a better place to what we found it in? So it's a very exciting time to be pre-recording these sessions and building up to intimate concerts that we'll be hosting right here at eDikeni, streamed live from eDikeni, and augmenting commercial boundaries and taking a piece of who we are to the world.
I met Nkomo, I must have been, well, he's known me since I was a baby, but I only realized that that's actually Dr. Winston Ngozi in our home when I was probably 15, 16, you know. He would come and visit Mama quite often, and they had quite a close relationship as creatives, but also as, you know, growing up in a black community, you know, every family becomes knitted to the other. And Nkomo became a father to me. He became a mentor. And I remember when I pushed out in the industry, it was at that Welcome to Kho's funeral. It must have been 2008 or 2009 or so. And I sang, and after that, he called me on the side and said, welcome. And I thought, Nkomo always had these weird parables. He would say something and leave you thinking, and then after 2 days you're like, oh, that's what you meant. And so he said to me, welcome, and I thought, okay, I don't understand you today, Nkomo, and quite frankly I'm excited that I got a standing ovation at a memorial service. And he then came over to our home and had the most precious talk with me about the industry. And right at the end of the conversation, he said, welcome to the industry that has no answers. And you know, it baffled me. It really did. And I remember him saying, remember to trust the process, and remember that that process is you. you know. So for me, having a relationship with such a great man, such a man of, you know, integrity, built me. It made me who I am. There's a lot I can say about Ngomosha and the relationship that I had with him. There's a lot I can say about what he meant to me and what he meant to the nation and to the world, you know. And his death broke me, but I'm happy and content at the same time that he left me with a lot, with a lot. I look back and I smile every time I think of him, because I know he would be smiling right back at me. I grew up listening to a variety of music, obviously, because I came from a musical family, and for me it's a list long of musicians, from Sarah Vaughan to there's a lady, not Ella, Lorez, and then of course there was the great South Africans, Mam Leta, Mam Miriam, Mam Busi. My mom loved Mam Busi Mhlongo. And so that sound, I grew up with that sound, and the amalgamation of that sound made me the musician that I am today.
Winston Ngozi is a massive influence in my musical journey. I remember growing up, my dad used to play, you know, jazz music, and it was always playing. I never knew it was Winston Ngozi, but when I started playing the saxophone at about 13, I realized, oh, this instrument that I'm playing, I've heard the sound of this thing before, you know, and it was Winston Ngozi. And when I made that realization, I fell in love with him and his music immediately. So, and I started transcribing him, you know, a lot, playing his music. So he's played a massive role in my musical journey and my musical upbringing. The significance of Youth Day for me, linking up with music, you know, I think the artist played a big role in the struggle and in liberating our country, even though it's not well documented. They were, you know, behind the scenes, working with the politicians to you know, engage the people and to educate the people about the struggle and I guess the emancipation of the South African people. So for me, that's the huge significance of, you know, the arts, or the artists rather. Yeah. I think the way I think about preserving our music, it's just the setup. For instance, it's collaborating with different artists, photographers. That in that way we can document the music digitally, and then, you know, there's a lot of us now who've had the privilege of going to school and learning how to write music. So if we could, you know, begin to build a what's the word I'm looking for? Just to build a way of always documenting whatever music that we're creating. It must be written down, you know, and not just recorded and left to sit. So if we can always be writing our music down, that's a way we can go forward. And those who are able to take time out to be able to transcribe the music that came before us, which is not transcribed, I mean, we have the facilities to do so. So there's nothing stopping us, you know, young musicians from doing that. So I've been listening to a lot of Winston since I heard about this endeavor, and I was stuck on a song titled George and I from the album Abantwana Be-Afrika, produced by Andile, Yenana. So in that song, Winston is talking about the late great musician George Chefumane and his relationship. So yeah, that's the song that I'll be rearranging.
I think the biggest influence, I think, in my playing also as a musician, I would say it was the late Kwazi Shange. I think his playing really inspired me to even pick up the sticks and start playing. and watching him being a versatile musician, playing different genres, being jazz and pop and Afro-pop and gospel. It was amazing, and his story lives on, man. There's a lot of guys who were inspired by him, and he was a young musician who did amazing things and recorded on amazing projects. This is an arrangement, a friend of mine, a bass player, Winston Ngozi, Mavimbela. We did this arrangement of Yakhal Inkomo by Winston Ngozi, the great. And this is a wonderful piece that we took out to a very modern expression and kind of what we were hearing. And this is in a 7/8 feel. So yeah, man, looking forward to you guys hearing.
I think, first of all, besides music, this day is so significant to a lot of youth in this country, because I think I wouldn't be able to even do what I do as a musician had it not been for a lot of people who came before me to fight for our rights in society and for the education that I received. So first of all, I'm very grateful for that. And in music, I think it's a powerful thing that I now get to express exactly who I am and where I come from, where I know a lot of people back in the day did not get that opportunity. And because of them, I now have this opportunity to do the same. I decided to do an interpretation of one of my favorite Bekim's Lereko tunes called Melancholy in Cologne. I think it's extremely important to capture the history of our music, especially with the South African jazz scene. A lot of the music that we have today, the modern music, was actually informed by a lot of things that the jazz generation created back in the day. And a lot of people don't even know this, but they also had a major influence on what was happening abroad in Europe and in the United States. And having spent some time abroad, I know that there's this misconception or kind of ignorance when it comes to South African music and the South African sound. So I think it's very important that we preserve where we come from, because it is a vital voice in the world of jazz, the global scene of jazz.
You know how people say that to know where you're going, you need to know where you've come from or where you've been. So I think legacy is an important part of that, and it's very important for us to look back and see, where we come from as a nation and as musicians, and look at our elders, because the music that we create today doesn't come from nothing. If you actually look at the thread, there's a thread that runs through the tradition. So I think for me, it's very important for us to honor those who have come before us, who've walked the path. There's so much that you can learn from the elders about music, about life, about direction, about orientation. So I think for me, legacy is a really big part of something that I've been, focused on for the past while, because I think it's an important thing to preserve our heritage, and I think we can only be stronger as a result of paying homage to our legends. I've been very lucky to have a father who has lived the life that he has. It's been a source of great inspiration, and I've learned a lot about life and life in music from him. I've chosen to arrange the song Tembisa, which was co-composed by Andile, Yenana and Mnisi, from Andile Yenana's first album called We Used to Dance. I think it's just one of those really beautiful classic songs that is a big part of our repertoire. It's a very special composition for me, and so I enjoyed putting my own spin to it.
welcome to Alice. This is on this cold winter day. Thank you for braving the cold. Like, guys, it's actually, it doesn't often rain in winter in Johannesburg, but clearly it's a very special day. I thought twice when I got up this morning. I thought twice about this. I actually really need to do this. But yeah, it is the first Winston session, and I always say, we are because of the love of many. We wouldn't be where we are if other people hadn't sacrificed, and kind of invested self, into with a sense of purpose into everything that they were doing. I think this day always, highlights the importance of just having courage in our convictions in everything that we do. The importance of being selfless as well, investing in people through Ubuntu, right? And as I said earlier, just having a sense of purpose with just everything that we do. But we are a nation, we are a world that's in need of a lot of healing. We're seeing it with everything that's happening across the globe today, not only here at home, but everywhere. There's this need, man. There's this need to heal those divisions of the past, so that it's not intergenerational trauma that just carries on, and we pass it on to our children, so on and so forth. And music has this unrivaled ability to unify the world. I think that emotional connection, to be able to bring people together and unify around a common cause, no kind of language barriers, and it has the ability to heal. And right here we are sitting as custodians of this very legacy that we speak of, and saying, how do we effectively leave things in a better place to where we found them?
Yeah.
Just in opening the floor.
Yeah, I think it's, every generation has its own challenges that it faces. And I think sitting here right now, I think it's important for us younger people, I guess, to, look around and see what's happening in the world, and see what it is that we can do, or how we can lend a hand, or how we can lend our voices to speak up against injustices in the world.
Yeah.
As a way of providing healing, and even in terms of the music that we create, I also think that's a consideration that needs to be made. What are we saying through the music that we create, and how are we within that music? What are we putting in that music to try create a better reality, to tackle these issues that are faced by our generation?
Sure.
So I think it's an important thing to think about. Not necessarily to say that every song that you create must be a political manifesto or whatever, because
elections are around the corner.
not to say that, because the thing is, it's like, as you say, music can be a force for healing, and sometimes we need to provide that space where people can forget about the troubles that they're going through in their lives. So I just think maybe it's a thing where you need to just appreciate the power that music can have, and use that power wisely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think there's something big about what Bokani is saying about creating this art form where people can forget, and necessarily it doesn't stop what's happening, but it helps you to kind of chill out and say, let me look at this whole thing from a different lens. Because a lot of the times when you're in the middle of the storm,
sure,
you're seeing all of this like flying around, which is way crazier. Whereas if you would take the time and say, hey, hold up, I'm still in the eye. There's a lot happening, but I'm still fine. you're still alive, you're still okay, you know. And from if we kind of try and heal from that space, we can do quite a lot. We can get to a place and say, okay, I dealt a lot today, but let me just sit back and let me just think twice about whatever is happening. And then you realize it's actually not as bad as I thought.
That's the power of storytelling.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It kind of helps you transcend your immediate realm of circumstance,
Exactly.
right? And saying, this is what I'm kind of dealing with now.
Yeah.
And sort of dive more inwards and saying, you know, what does a better tomorrow look like? It's quite an involved process as well for you as musicians. You know, I think people are very quick to say, let me quickly write a song about what's going on around this time. But I always say space is probably one of the most underrated concepts, even just in creating music, you know what I mean, and in life in general, you know. And as people that are so involved in the process and do this as an everyday thing, how do you afford yourself that space to actually see a better tomorrow and breathe and for things to grow? You know, some of your thoughts, some of your concepts, you know, when you constantly add it, it's can take away quite a bit of value from it.
I mean, when I hear questions like that, I always try to approach. First of all, I grew up as a born free into the society, and for a large part of my life, I was quite sheltered by my parents about what was going on during the past and what's still happening today. But I like to approach every situation with like a deep sense of gratitude, and to really understand who I am, what I have, and where I've come from, and what people around me might not have, and why do I have this? Why do you have this? And like kind of trying to get into that space. And then you were speaking about silence, trying to getting to that alone space, just thinking, sitting by myself, thinking about who I am, what I've accomplished, and what are the things that have gotten me to where I got or am going.
Sure.
And that's only because of a lot of the sacrifices of my parents, a lot of sacrifices of the people around me, and I like to go with that kind of frame in mind when I approach any creative process. Even today we were filming some things for the upcoming National Arts Festival, and I was standing there and I'm like, yo, I'm so grateful I get to stand here, play music that I love, play an instrument that I love, getting paid for what I do. And I know a lot of people don't get to have this opportunity. And I was standing with my bass, I'm like, man, this is such an honor just to do this to play for people and to create something.
But that takes being present. You need to really
definitely
be present and mindful to be able to be aware of that very moment.
Also, the time of this COVID nonsense. It's not all bad because it's created that space forcefully. You know, but it's created that thing where you must really, you just think and reflect. So I think that's probably the one positive I can say about this whole experience of it basically cut the schedule. And now you have time and space to really think through things. So
And what were some of the cons? What were some of the disadvantages? I mean, work was affected for everyone sitting in the street in a number of ways. And like you're saying, it's an opportunity to kind of rewrite the script and step into the realm of possibility and saying, sometimes we're so used to this measured life. How many gigs am I playing this week? And, but what's a different way of doing things? Do you know what I mean? What are some other avenues to actually just keep the counter ticking as well?
I think you kind of pushed us into a place of, like, we should stop being procrastinators, like the stuff you've always thought about, like, just do them, and when, how you're saying the schedule is cut, you got no choice now. You're thinking, I should do it now, actually. I might as well do it. Like, what else am I gonna do, So it's kind of pushing us to not sit on ideas, but just let them go. Also, it's like, it's building us. Like, it's giving us a backbone to be brave. It's It's okay to say I'm brave when everything is okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say you're not brave
Exactly.
when you're not.
When you're not,
You know?
exactly.
Because I also feel like a lot of people are trying too hard. Do you know what I'm saying? Because we're trying to fit into
Sure.
the space of using this time to be creative and using this time to be proactive and
Yeah.
all. And the honest truth is, from my end, you don't have to.
Don't force
Yeah.
it.
Don't force
Don't
it.
touch
You
it.
know,
No,
creativity
I
is something for me. It's something. It comes naturally.
Yeah.
You know, and when it hits, it hits. Like I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I'd get a song in the middle of the road, like. And this melody is ringing in my head, you know, and I'm just like, okay, you know what, just 5 minutes. You record it on your phone and then you carry on, you know.
It's
So-
that moment. Yeah.
It's that moment, that's what matters, you know. And I think for some people, I mean, a lot of creatives, and this is the honest truth, we can't run away from it. The honest truth is that some creatives are living with mental disorders such as depression, anxiety, and all sorts. And for them, this has been the hardest time because they feed off the energy of an audience, you know. And for them to be isolated has brought more trauma more than anything else, you know. And I know a lot of people who are going through the most during this time because they feel like they've been shut into a corner and they're unable to do anything. And yes, one can say now's the time to, you know, to step out and try, but be easy on yourself. Like don't force it. You know, it's okay to sit at home and watch Sophia the First.
I don't know what that is.
Really, it's okay to just sit at home and watch Luke Cage, you know, and
It is Youth Day. You're allowed to.
No, I totally agree with that, yeah.
I was just adding on to what Titi is saying. For me, having been home, I realized, I mean, looking back in my whole life, I always had answers for myself, you know what I mean? Like, I always, okay, I know what I'm going to do. But in this time, I really found a stillness, you know? And it's okay not to have answers.
And there's power in stillness.
Yeah, like, it's okay not to know sometimes, you know? I guess a lot of us feel pressure, as we're saying, you know, getting on social media. There's a lot of people doing things, and you feel like, yo, what am I doing? You know, so I took the time out and I was like, you know what, it's okay, bro. You don't know.
You don't know.
Take the time out, be still, like just chill. I mean, something will always come up. You know what I mean?
But taking that time to also do the inner work, you know what I mean?
To better yourself.
Yeah,
Of
just
course,
to do
absolutely.
the inner work, listen to, just to be able to watch the thinker, man. I think sometimes this thing has a weird way of off-ramping, you know, and sometimes it's very misaligned to your frequency and your essence and what it is that you want to imprint, right? And if we can manage our thoughts, you know, and just, why are you feeling like that? You know what I mean? Is that necessary? You know, is there something that I can do to self-manage in order to self-improve? Right? I think that's where it starts, and then you can influence your immediate surroundings, you know, thus the people that you work with, and then your community, and so on and so forth. You know, that inner work is, I think, it's critical. Critical. And that's what COVID did, man. It forced a lot of people inward, right? To say, oh, the stuff that I've been doing, do I really need it? You know what I mean? Where's the wastage? Where can I just streamline and kind of focus on the things that matter most?
But I think also it's you need to be true to yourself. That's the important thing. You know, some people have that thing of like, oh yes, it's time to be creative. I want to do a million things. That's fine. But then some people are like, yo, I don't feel creative at all, and that's also fine. So the thing is, you look inward and you look at yourself and your own personal situation, and I think it's important to be very true to yourself.
Honestly,
Because now if you see everyone, hey, I'm posting new videos every day.
Listen.
You're tired before you even do it.
Yeah, you know, I saw someone wrote on Facebook, actually, Lockdown's Got Talent. It has been a talent show. Listen, I saw meals I've never seen. I made meals I've never made before. You know, sometimes we get so caught up in wanting to be creative, you know, because every day comes with something new. you know, so every day there's something new, there's something fresh, you know, and we always want to be as close as possible to that trend, you know, and sometimes we can't even listen to our own thoughts.
Yeah.
And I think this time for me, more than anything, I've just really just, you know, when there's like all the lights off and there's just one light, you know, like Sisonke is saying, you don't have all the answers, and it's okay. You know, you sit and you listen to yourself. You know, so for me that's what's been up.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, half the time, you know, as people, sometimes you go around regurgitating the same things without really paying attention to what it is that you said and doing. It's kind of your default setting. It's kind of like standard. When I get into this scenario, this is kind of how I'm going to lead this out. I'm going to best represent myself, and that's a representative. It might not even be a true reflection of you. You know what I mean? And exactly what Benjamin was saying, that just being present in that moment, I think, is where the magic happens, where it's just like, actually, I'm okay. You know what I mean? I'm okay, I'm here, I woke up, I ate, you know. Only once you can tap into that honesty, right, and consistency, can you even begin to think of helping other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then it's genuine, it's pure. It's pure. Do you know what I mean? It's not contaminated by these thoughts or whatever it is. But speaking of food, let's go. I think we should go eat. But I think looking forward to, you know, the food.
Yes.
Ready for the moment.
I think looking forward to the first, you know, sort of intimate concert where we can have all of you on stage, right? You know, it's something that's been included in a note that I've shared with each and every one of you as well. I've been saying, I think over and above this, I'd love to just extend an invitation to you all in your respective capacities to say, please come to Winston stage with your ensembles over and above the session of the Winston session, and saying, come through, serve your blessings, share what you've got to give, and that is something we will most gladly look forward to and sort of accommodate in the best way we can. But yeah, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you for having us. Merci beaucoup.